What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from BackToMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And today we're going to talk about Ash. It's a film directed by Flying Lotus, who or whatever that is. And it stars Issa Gonzalez and Aaron Paul. It's being released and distributed by Amazon MGM. And it does legally have audio description. Make the legal requirements to have audio description. Anyway, click like and subscribe because we're going to talk about it. So Ash is a film that I was originally offered a screener for, or screening opportunity, and I didn't get it, which happens a lot. I feel like a lot of times I'm like, yeah, I would love to screen your movie for review. If you happen to have an English audio description track, that would be great. Thanks, bye. And then I've been ghosted. And it's like, you guys know your movie's gonna come out eventually. It's not like it's a fucking secret that you're... I'm gonna see the movie at some point. Obviously, you want critic attention. You just don't want blind critic attention, or you can't figure out how to give me English audio description. One of two things is happening. So Ash... I'm kind of glad I didn't watch it without audio description because A, I don't like the audio description track, and B, what a mess this would have been. My grade would have been unwatchable due to lack of audio description. It's a sci-fi horror movie. And I mean that in every possible way I could. It takes place, in space where no one can hear you scream. And it's very much a horror movie. It's as much as it has those like flashes of horrifying images. It's sort of like Event Horizon, where you're just sort of seeing these weird images that are being told. Well, I'm being described to them, but I don't know what you're looking at, but it sounds crazy. And almost like jump scares, except they're not accompanied by loud noises, which is what every cheap-ass director does in Hollywood now. When they have a jump scare, it also has to have a loud noise. So kudos to Flying Lotus. I'll go ahead and tell you, you're not getting an F, because I at least appreciate the fact that when you try to do these flashes and these imagery, your image fuckery, that you don't accompany them with jump scares. So you will not earn an F grade. Thank you. Otherwise, some people are like, oh, I like it because it's an original horror film. I'm like, is it though? When you see a film that is so heavily influenced and like an amalgamation of ideas that's been done before, it's so hard to be like excited about the originality of something that you feel like, has been done before. Like if I see a high school comedy about boys losing their virginity, and technically it's an original script, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, thank you for the originality of this movie. I'm going to be like, okay, so we've seen this a bajillion times before. What did you bring to it that actually makes it original and not just derivative of, not just this generation's version of blank. So there are things in here that they've explored that I thought were kind of interesting, but arguably have been explored before, like the use of robots to perform surgery and healing is one of the better described elements of the film, and also sort of manifested, I think, one of the better ideas that they had in the script that Flying Lotus was able to manifest. The plot is a mess. Arguably, I'm not even sure it makes sense. It keeps flashing back like it wants... It's either A, trying to confuse or bamboozle you, or B, thinks you're stupid and haven't picked up on the idea yet. I haven't figured out which one. Issa Gonzalez, who I like, and I think she'll survive this film because I don't think anybody saw Ash, she's not good in this. I'm sorry, Issa is just not, this is not a good performance. This is not a good performance from Aaron Paul. Nobody wanted to be here. This is just straight up basic ass acting from two talented actors. Anybody could have been in those roles and you wouldn't have noticed. They could have gone to actors debuting in their first film, and not Issa, who I thought last year was really good in the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, among other projects that she's done. Of course, Aaron Paul, in Breaking Bad and whatever, but I think he's proven himself. He's good. So, yeah, so she plays the main character who wakes up, Rita, something with an R. I don't know. I don't care. Uh, I'm so unenthused by this movie. It's funny how you can, if you watch me long enough, you can tell sort of where I'm going to head with a movie. She wakes up, has memory loss. And so it's one of those movies where it's like, okay, great. So we're going to discover everything as our protagonist is discovering them. Unfortunately, it's a sci-fi movie where everything also doesn't have, like, a whole bunch of things have no basis in reality. So it's sort of like playing a video game for the first time, and you're wandering around and trying to find things. It's kind of what it felt like, is a really shitty video game. And the only other person who really comes in is this Brian, I think that was Aaron Paul's character's name, who shows up, and she can't trust him because there are a whole bunch of dead bodies, and she has no idea why anybody's dead. And it's gore and stuff like that, and then suddenly this live human being shows up, and she doesn't remember him because she doesn't remember anything. And she doesn't know whether or not to trust him, and obviously the audience doesn't know whether or not to trust him, although he seems to have more presence of mind. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's not the bad guy. She does kind of come around to it really quickly. I guess it's kind of a spoiler, but she also just kind of gives up pretty quickly on, just the fact that he recognizes her seems to be like, oh, he knows who I am. We must be friends. So she becomes way too trusting of him way too quickly. And it's one of the things I just didn't like about Issa's performances. Issa is somebody who has shown a lot of fire in her performances before, and is the kind of person who would have been great in like an Alien movie, like how we did like Alien Romulus. If we did something like that where Issa got to fight off, the brood, that would be great. But she's so underutilized and so enthused and so confused in this role. I don't think she was given any direction. I don't know what kind of thoughts she had from director Flying Lotus, but it doesn't feel like she was given any direction at all other than to just be sort of comatose for the direction, for as much of the film as humanly possible. And Aaron Paul, man, anybody could have played this. I mean, his role is so uninteresting. There's nothing in here. Ash is one of the least interesting things I've seen this year. But it could be interesting, but it just doesn't know what to do. As far as visuals, I've seen a whole bunch of people trash the visuals online. So if you're sighted and you came here, go find a sighted critic and they'll tell you. But I can't tell you what visually it looks like. I've heard visually it looks like a mess. The score is fine. I'm assuming Flying Lotus comes out of the music world. I don't care enough to look it up, but I'm assuming that because the score is one of the more attractive qualities of the film, but it still just feels like a techno score, like Ghosts of Mars. It feels like this score could have gone on Ghosts of Mars, John Carpenter's movie from back in the day. It would have been fine, because that's kind of another good comparison for this, is sort of the random acts of violence that happen in that out of nowhere. There are these flashes of images that Issa's character, Ray, something like that, keep thinking of. And imagining in her head. And so you're going to get a whole bunch of flashes. Now, the audio description is god-awful. First of all, I think it's AI. I'm pretty sure it's AI. There's nothing. I stayed all the way to the end because I fought myself, because I was like, I have to know. Nothing was credited at the end of this. No one, no company, no writer, no human being. It's a good indication of AI when nobody wants to be credited with it. Nobody wants to touch this audio description with a 10-foot pole. It is an oddly upbeat voice for a very downbeat movie. It's like, she walks into the next room. She opens the door. There's an exploded face in front of her. Gore's everywhere. She sees a face screaming. I'm like, who is... I'm like, who the fuck is narrating this? Fire that person. Fire the person who hired them. Like, this is the worst, like, use of casting of a voice talent if this is a human being. It is so bizarre. It's so weirdly upbeat. I don't even know. The writing is okay, but there are times when it summarizes, which I hate. Um, when it doesn't know what to show, and it's just like, she sees a bunch of violent images. And I'm like, ooh, okay, of what? People, places, things, buildings, I mean, like, uh, so either Flying Lotus just directed a film that was like indescribable, which I talked to a lot of writers, so I get the frustration. I think the writer was probably the most competent thing in this track, but then they were stuck with this AI voice. And this is why humans should narrate movies, is because no human would narrate it with this tone. It would never sound this upbeat. It doesn't complement the film at all. This is exactly the kind of film that, I'm sorry, but having watched Strangers Chapter 1 last year, the best thing about that movie was the fact that William Michael Redmond did the narration for it. And the fact that I can remember that a year later for a film that was that forgettable goes to show you that if you're trying to appeal to a blind and low vision audience, casting is everything, and AI voices are not casting. AI voices are cost-cutting measures that you're using because you hate your movie and you hate your director and you hate everything about it. So obviously Amazon feels nothing for Ash. They don't care, and they're sending this movie out to die. So because I've heard human narrators on plenty of their other films, I'm watching this after having watched Another Simple Favor that has a human narrator in it. This I don't think does, and it suffers because of it, because this narrator feels like they're narrating Bubble Guppies or some shit. Like, it is one of the weirdest juxtapositions of a voice that seems way too excited to be where they are for a film that is way too depressing in tonality and way too violent and horrifying. I did not enjoy Ash. I can't really think of anything good to say about Ash, except for the fact that extreme horror fans may like it, because it does seem to be leaning towards the unwieldingly, unnecessarily so violent. Like, they're just these violent images for no apparent reason whatsoever. Like, she just imagines violent things. What was that? Malevolent? Isn't that the film where also kind of like that? And it's like it's been done before. I remember the jump scares that we had in Drag Me to Hell, that Sam Raimi was like, oh, jump scares are all the rage right now. We should do those. I was like, I hate you. No, screamers should not be brought into movies. Screamers are for YouTube. Yeah, I want to come on here and say something nice about Ash, but the best thing I can say is the score. So I'm assuming Flying Lotus comes out of the music world. They're a DJ or something, and they're making their debut, because it seems like the thing that they took the most consideration with was the music. Though I'm not 100% sure if the music complements the movie, because there really isn't like rising tension. It's just the kind of score that I could see people saying, I like the score to Ash, so I just put it on the background. Because it just feels like I said, like cool electronic music, but it doesn't feel like distinguishably one of the best scores of the year, or, oh man, it really helped make that scene or draw it together. It just is the most interesting thing about the film, which should not be the case, because the score in and of itself is not the most interesting score I've heard this year. So I like when people who compose scores actually compose to the thing that they're composing for, when you actually have scenes that feel like the score is complementing the scene, and it's driving action, it's highlighting tension, it's backing off in subdued moments of drama or sadness. It's quirky when it needs to be for comedy purposes. Whatever it is, it feels like it's complementing the film. This doesn't really do that. It just sounds cool. So if you want to listen to the score of Ash, by all means, find it and then just watch the movie. There's nothing really about the movie that's worth recommending. I'm not going to remember this well at the end of the year. I'm giving Ash a D. Probably generously, probably should be a D-, but it just didn't feel like I'm that close to an F. Like my experience wasn't so bad that I'm like, oh my God. Sometimes D- movies are films that are just, maybe they had one good thing about them, and otherwise it was a pretty excruciating experience. D movies are just movies I just really don't like, and I just really don't like Ash. There's nothing I can say about it or recommend it to anybody. Do something else with your time. Certainly, please don't spend money on this. Like, find it on streaming if you're curious. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.